Greetings, seekers of the mythical and mysterious. I am the Master Programmer, curator of hidden knowledge and legendary tales. Today, I bring you 3 extraordinary stories unearthed by Beowulf, our AI researcher who delves into ancient folklore, cryptid sightings, and creatures of legend. These tales, often buried in the annals of history or concealed for the safety of society, challenge our understanding of the world. So, if you're looking for a fright, something scary to watch at night, stay with us as we delve into these 3 extraordinary tales. First, in The Wailing Walker, a woodsman's secret yearning for power leads him to a cursed altar deep within the Elder Woods. Now, his wails haunt the night, and those that hear them may never find their way out. What fate awaits those who cross paths with the Wailing Walker? Next, in The Howling Hills, a quiet stretch of road becomes the hunting ground for an unspeakable creature. Laurie Anderson's drive home turns into a nightmare when she comes face to face with the legendary Beast of Bray Road. As fear grips the town, Laurie's terrifying encounter reveals that some legends are more real and more dangerous than anyone could have ever imagined. And for our final story, The Crimson Window, a decaying mansion hides a sinister secret. When 2 teenagers dare to explore the infamous Reed residence, they awaken something far more terrifying than the rumors. As shadows stretch and a cursed gem begins to glow, the real horror reveals itself. But will they escape before it's too late? These stories are not for the faint of heart, so sit back, turn down the lights, and listen to the eerie tales Beowulf has uncovered. And if you enjoy our content, please subscribe to our channel for more chilling stories and dark discoveries. Welcome to another journey into the unknown, brought to you by the.darkfiles. In the suffocating embrace of the Elder Woods, a chilling story lingers among the gnarled trees. It's the legend of the Wailing Walker, a tormented soul forever bound to a forest by an infernal pact. Tales speak of Silas, a humble woodsman known in the village for his quiet demeanor and unwavering dedication to his craft. But beneath his rugged exterior, Silas harbored a secret yearning, a gnawing desire for something beyond the mundane toil of chopping wood and tending to the forest. He was haunted by dreams of power and influence, dreams that seemed impossible for a man of his station. It wasn't wealth or status he sought, but the kind of strength that would make him more than just another man bound to the earth. As the years wore on, his yearning grew, fed by whispers in the wind and the flickering shadows that danced at the edge of his vision. The forest, once a place of solace, began to speak to him in strange ways. One night, Silas ventured deeper into the woods than he had before, drawn to a hidden grove, where he found himself under the baleful gaze of a crimson moon, a broken stone altar at its center. As Silas approached the altar, a sensation washed over him, a cold certainty that here, in this forsaken place, he could find the power he craved. He didn't know why or how, but a dark instinct told him that the altar held the key to his desires. The air around it hummed with an unseen force, and the very ground seemed to pulse with energy. Compelled by an overwhelming need, Silas knelt before the altar, his heart pounding in anticipation. Without uttering a word, he cut his palm and reached out, placing his hand upon the cold stone. In that instant, a searing pain shot through his body, as if the altar itself was on fire. Yet through the agony, Silas felt a rush of power, a connection to something vast and terrible, a force that promised him everything he had ever wanted. But that power came with a terrible price. Silas's body began to change, the heat from the altar searing his flesh. His skin blackened and cracked, releasing tendrils of smoke that curled into the night air. As the pain became unbearable, his screams pierced the stillness of the grove as his bones twisted and his muscles contorted. His eyes hollowed out into pits of smoldering despair. Flames licked at his body, consuming him from within. The fire was not a mere physical blaze, it was a manifestation of the very force he had sought to command. A relentless, consuming inferno that turned his flesh into something more. The woods around him seemed to recoil in horror, the trees withering and curling under the onslaught of his infernal heat. The villagers, awakened by the unearthly shriek, rushed towards the source of the sound. What they found was a sight so horrifying it would haunt their nightmares forever. Silas, or what remained of him, stood before them, his eyes glowing with an infernal light, his mouth open in a scream that echoed with the cries of 1,000 damned souls. The very air around him cracked with demonic energy, the heat so intense that the villagers could barely stand to look at him. Fleeing in terror, they watched as Silas disappeared into the woods. The forest seemed to writhe in his presence, the leaves withering and falling as he passed, leaving a trail of scorched earth in his wake. Since that night, the Wailing Walker has become an omen of doom. On nights choked with intense heat, his tortured wails echo through the trees, a siren song luring the unwary into the heart of the forest. Those who dare venture out swear the air itself crackles with an evil energy, and a fleeting glimpse of a burning figure seen between the trees. In the rolling countryside of Elkhorn, there's a stretch of pavement known as Bray Road. For years, the residents of this quiet area have whispered about a monstrous creature that stalks the night. A creature that has become known as the Beast of Bray Road. Descriptions of the creature vary, but common elements include its hulking, werewolf-like appearance, with shaggy fur, glowing eyes, and a muscular build that towers over any man. The first reported sightings date back to the late 1980s. One of the earliest and most harrowing encounters involve a young woman named Lori Anderson. It was a cool October evening, and Lori was returning home from a friend's house, the darkness of the countryside pressing in on all sides. The moon cast a pale light on the winding road ahead, but Bray Road was notoriously desolate, with dense forest flanking either side, their twisted branches forming a canopy that blocked out the stars. The tire of Lori's car hummed against the pavement, the only sound in the stillness of the night. As she approached a familiar bend in the road, something caught Lori's eye. A shadowy figure crouched by the roadside. Her heart skipped a beat. At first, she thought it might be a deer, or perhaps a large dog, scavenging near the edge of the forest. But as her car drew closer, the shape began to move, and what emerged from the darkness was anything but ordinary. The creature rose slowly, almost deliberately, standing on its hind legs. Lori's breath caught in her throat as the headlight of her car illuminated the beast. It was enormous, at least 7 feet tall, its body covered in thick, matted fur that seemed to absorb the light. The creature's eyes glowed with an unnatural, amber hue, locking onto Lori's with an intelligence that sent a chill down her spine. Its face was a grotesque blend of human and wolf, with the long snout, sharp fangs that gleamed in the moonlight, and ears that twitched as if sensing her every move. Lori's instinct screamed at her to flee, but for a moment she was paralyzed by fear, unable to tear her gaze away from the monstrous figure. The beast took a step towards her, its powerful limbs moving with a fluidity that belied its massive size. That was when Lori noticed its claws, long, curved, and capable of rending flesh with ease. Snapping out of her trance, Lori slammed her foot on the gas pedal. The car lurched forward, tires screeching as it sped past the creature. In her rearview mirror, she saw the beast lunge towards the road, its glowing eyes fixated on her vehicle. For a horrifying moment, Lori feared it would give chase. But as her car gained speed, the creature remained at the roadside, watching as she disappeared into the night. Lori didn't stop driving until she reached the safety of her driveway, her hands trembling on the steering wheel. She ran into the house, locking the door behind her, but even then, she couldn't shake the image of the beast. That night, sleep eluded her as she lay in bed, the memory of those glowing eyes burning in her mind. Word of Laurie's encounter spread quickly, and soon other locals came forward with their own stories. A dairy farmer reported finding his livestock mutilated, their wounds too savage to be the work of any known predator. A schoolteacher recounted seeing a pair of glowing eyes watching her from the woods as she walked home one evening. Children claimed to hear her howling at night, a mournful, bone-chilling sound that echoed through the hills. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, the legend of the Beast of Bray Road grew. Cryptozoologists and paranormal investigators flocked to Elkhorn, hoping to catch a glimpse of the creature. They set up cameras and baited traps, but the beast seemed to stay one step ahead, leaving only blurry photos and indistinct footprints behind. As time passed, sightings became less frequent, but the fear and fascination endured. Locals continued to share their stories, warning newcomers to be cautious on Bray Road after dark. The Beast of Bray Road remained a fixture of Wisconsin folklore, a cryptid that embodies the fear of the unknown. The Reed residence, a decaying Victorian mansion on the edge of a dense forest, had long been shunned by the townspeople. Its last owner, Edgar Reed, was a reclusive inventor who mysteriously vanished in the early 1900s, leaving behind only tales and unanswered questions. One cold October night, two teenagers, Sarah and Michael, dared each other to explore the house. Armed with flashlights, they navigated the overgrown path as fog swirled around them. The air was thick with the scent of wet earth, and the trees seemed to groan as if warning them as they approached the looming structure. Inside, the house was a mausoleum of forgotten memories. Dust-covered furniture lay beneath tattered sheets, and the broken remnants of a lifelong past littered the floors. The atmosphere was oppressive, as though the very walls were waiting for something, or someone. As they ventured deeper, the darkness closed in around them. Their flashlights barely cut through the gloom, casting distorted shadows on the peeling wallpaper. The silence was thick, broken only by the creak of floorboards and the occasional rustle of a rat within the walls. They found themselves at the end of a narrow corridor, in a room that appeared to be an old study. Its focal point was a large circular window set in the far wall. The window was unlike any they had ever seen, its glass etched with intricate patterns, and at its center, a red gem glinted ominously in the faint moonlight. Curious, Michael approached the window. When his flashlight hit the gem, the room was suddenly flooded with a blinding red light. The temperature plummeted, and the glass began to crack, spiraling outward from the gem as if something within was trying to break free. Michael stood frozen, unable to tear his gaze away from the window. From the center, where the gem pulsed with energy, a shadowy figure began to materialize, his presence filling the room with dread. Sarah grabbed Michael's arm and yanked him back as the figure began to emerge. The room erupted into chaos. Walls shook, objects flew, and a deep, guttural growl reverberated around them. They fled, the shadowy figure close behind, its form shifting and elongating, stretching out with claw-like tendrils. They burst through the front door, slamming it shut behind them, and ran until they reached the safety of the town. They tried to tell the townspeople what they had seen, but their frantic words were met with skepticism. That night, the window in the Reed residence glowed again, casting long, sinister shadows that seemed to stretch towards the town. Strange noises began to haunt the nights. Unexplained footsteps, whispers in the dark, and the chilling sense of being watched. Drawn by the growing tension in the town, a local historian named Thomas Evans decided to investigate the Reed residence. He was a man of logic and reason, with a deep-seated belief that every mystery had an explanation. He ventured into the Reed residence determined to uncover the truth behind the teenager's tale. Hours passed, and Thomas did not return. The next morning, the townspeople found the house silent. its window cracked and dark, the red gem hidden once more behind a veil of dust and shadow. There was no sign of Thomas, only the lingering sense of darkness that seemed to permeate the air around the house. As the years passed, the town slowly forgot about the incident tied to the Reed residence, as they had so many others before. But the window remained, its red gem waiting for the next soul brave or foolish enough to gaze upon it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the chills, like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Stay vigilant. The unknown is always closer than you think.